Okay, Lieutenant, can you spell your
I
first
sure can, Brent.
and your last name? Go ahead, sir.
It's Lieutenant John, Jon, Radus, Radus, and I'm the Public Information Officer.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, at approximately 9:27 p.m., Fullerton police officers were in the area of Lillie and Commonwealth when they saw what appeared to be an altercation inside a Chevy Silverado. It appeared as though the two occupants were arguing or fighting over the vehicle. One of the males was armed with a broomstick, another was armed with a knife. As officers approached the vehicle, they detained the male that was armed with a broomstick. As they were doing so, the male that was armed with a knife exited and charged at the officers. The officers deployed a less lethal beanbag round at the male with the knife, and it had no effect. He still continued to charge at the officers, at which point an officer-involved shooting occurred. The officers immediately began life-saving measures. However, the male was transported to a local trauma center where he was pronounced deceased.
Anybody that might have seen this incident that can help detectives this morning, besides Crime Stoppers, can you give us a number that they can call?
They can call 714-738-6716.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, that's it.
What area is closed right now for the morning? Because I know you're going to be out here for several hours.
Yeah, we will be out here for several hours. Right now, Commonwealth is shut down from State College to Acacia.
Sir, can you spell your first, your last name, and you're a resident here in Fullerton, right?
Yes, absolutely. I actually live right over here in the house right behind me. My first name's Tommy, and then last name's Levasseur. Good luck trying to pronounce that. But yeah, I was in my house when this all went down, and I didn't initially see the first sighting of what happened. I just saw one police car, and then he already had his gun out with his flashlight out. There was an individual in the car. There was an individual in front of the car in the middle of the street, and the officer was shouting commands at the person inside the car. They were not listening, and then the officer was he was delaying because he had already called for backup, what seems like, and then within a minute or so, as you can see from right behind me, all of the rest of the police force basically showed up, and then from there, it was about 6 or 7 police officers in a line. They were all trying to get him out of the car. There was even an officer with a canine that came as well, and an officer with what looked like a shotgun who announced that he had beanbags loaded. And from there, we heard shouts, what basically seemed as drop the knife. So I'm assuming the individual inside the car had a knife. He was showing it to the officers. I'm not sure if he was showing it as a sign of I have a knife, please don't shoot, or if it was I have a knife, don't come close to me or anything. So we are not aware of whether that happened or not. And then from there, they basically, he got out of the car, and the officers started shouting at him, and then he turned around and started running, and that's when all the shots came. That's pretty much what we saw.
Did you hear?
We heard about 10 or so. There was about 5 to 6 officers, and it sounded like about 2 shots per officer.
Did you see the guy with the knife run towards officers?
No, it looked like he was running in the opposite direction, because from where his car was and where the body ended up, it was in the opposite direction. So I'm not sure if he was running towards them or not. That is a little blurry. We're still a little shaken up because of everything that just happened. We witnessed the whole thing, so it's kind of...
Did you recognize that person that was in the vehicle?
Not one bit.
Lived in nearby?
No, we didn't recognize him at all. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but the individual inside the car, what seemed like did not speak English, because he was speaking English back to the officer, and the officer was announcing that he does not speak Spanish. Mm-hmm. And then an officer came in who spoke Spanish and started giving commands, but he still was not listening. The second individual was very compliant. He got on the ground, did everything that he needed to, and then they detained that guy. However,
Can you describe what the 2 males looked like?
All I saw, to be honest, was Hispanic. The one that was detained had a blue shirt on, average height. I did not see at all the individual that was shot.
You were saying it's very quiet here. You were surprised this happened, huh?
Absolutely. I was in my kitchen cooking, and then all of a sudden I heard shouts from the street, and I was like, that's strange. And I looked outside, and that's when everything started.
Right. You're a little upset over it, huh?
Yeah, it's a little shaken up. I mean, there was some people inside that definitely did not want to see that, but I mean, it is what it is. The police definitely did a very outstanding job. They did everything to the book, to my understanding, and they did an excellent job in my eyes.